Dan, I have been dying to ask you this question since our last episode with Leroy Hite of Cutting Edge Firewood. I've been dying to ask you this question.
Oh, just one? I've got all kinds of questions that came to my mind.
Well, this is the one I've been dying to ask you.
All right,
Okay.
let's have it.
Did you have a wonderful day?
I had a wonderful and great day.
Yeah, what the heck? We told him, I said, Leroy, you're going to say have a great day.
Well,
and he ruined it by saying have a wonderful day. What's up with that?
there's a lot of pressure on, when you're on the number one firewood podcast in the world, there's a lot weighing over you. And, maybe you need to change maybe that's your new closing.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll put it up for sale. And then I'll just sit on my couch all day with my Afghan on.
There you go.
That's what it would take. Yeah. So welcome everyone to the Hounds podcast. My name is Joe. I am a YouTube personality known as Ohio Woodburner. And sitting across from me is Dan, who is who, Dan?
I am a hobbyist firewood YouTube channel, and I guess firewood hobbyist just in general. And my channel and I guess business is Back 40 Firewood.
Yeah, you're a businessman.
Yeah.
You're going to have to lose that hobbyist moniker because you're a professional, man.
I've been hearing that.
You are a professional. What the definition is that you get paid for what you do. Therefore, you're a professional. And that gets back to our previous episode with Leroy Hite of Cutting Edge Firewood, which is, I mean, come on, that's major league stuff. That is firewood at a different level than any of us, I think. I don't know if appreciate or comprehend is the right word, but I mean, that is just way, 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 way in a different universe than what the majority of us operate on. But I think it's safe to say that you and me and a number of others are on that same road that he blazed.
Yes. I wonder how many people had heard of Cutting Edge Firewood before that episode, because I mentioned in last week, I had been following them for years, just taking things from his website, trying to kind of pick up on the same general ideas for the mini firewood. But yeah. I heard a lot of things that he said that I think you and I both kind of, I don't know, have maybe said ourselves at some point.
I agree. I knew of Cutting Edge, but I'll be honest, I have not followed their business model. I didn't study it. I know who they are. I've seen a lot of the videos. I understand exactly what they're doing. I just, I didn't really take a deep dive into it. My approach to firewood, it's very similar. And that's when he was talking, I kind of, if I were one of our listeners, I would think that, Joe and Dan had studied this guy, or we've had a lengthy discussion with him, because he was using a lot of the same terminology.
Yes.
That I know that I use. When I talk about firewood as a commodity, about adding value, I mean, I've been saying that since day one. And that was interesting and refreshing and validating to hear someone at his level saying the same things that I say.
Yeah, I was like I said, it almost like we were talking with ourselves, and we had not talked to him prior to the podcast. We had not had any discussions where we were all using the same terminology, but to your point,
right,
he was using commodity, value add.
Yeah, and so if people are not familiar with Cutting Edge, they started off as he was a firewood delivery service to help make money in college. And then I think he was a business major, or he became an entrepreneur, and he started coming up with different ways, and life circumstances had him zero in on the firewood business. And he morphed and changed and became well, I guess they still do local delivery for high end customers. Um, and he has a mail order program where they mail boxes of firewood. And so his wood is high quality, but a lot of it is branding and marketing and targeting a demographic,
Yes.
uh, a demographic with a lot of disposable income, because their prices are very high.
Yeah. And the thing that I always zeroed in on was just his focus and his message about how firewood is more than just firewood. The whole
Yes.
experience side of it. That's what I kind of mean when I say, I've been following and looking into what they've been doing and just kind of having that same mindset in everything I do with like this mini firewood. Like it's more than just firewood. It's the experience that you're having with it.
Yeah. And you and me hear this a lot. And, we hear it in our comments. We hear it in other videos. We see it on YouTube where there is, and we talked about it on our podcast, Dan, where there are people in the firewood industry that just has this negative, condescending opinion about firewood. I mean, they openly mock it. They talk about it's only firewood. And
Yeah.
and what I say, it leads into other things that we see, where people are scared to touch the firewood because they're just going to lose money. It's not even worth your time to stack it. It's such a low end. Don't dare run your tractor making firewood because it's beneath the the character of a tractor
Yes.
to use the engine to make firewood. And here you have a guy that just thinks the exact opposite. What he said, he always has been a rule breaker. He's not afraid to go against the grain. And I sense that too. I identify with him, but I also know that I'm, at a Mickey Mouse level compared to what he has done. But, I get the same rocks thrown at me that he does because you had said, check out this guy's social media and read the comments. Holy
Oh,
cow.
wow. They run, if you see an ad from Cutting Edge Firewood on social media, go to the comments and just look at, I don't even know how to really describe it, but just everyone just is hammering them
What
on
is
what
it?
they're doing, their pricing, their everything from the top to bottom. Who would want just a box of firewood? Who would pay that much? What a ripoff. I can't believe you are
Yeah.
doing that to people. And yeah, it's crazy.
Especially when you see the prices. But that is the free market.
Right.
And so what are you arguing against when you say that, you shouldn't be selling for firewood that much? Are you against the free market? Can you not appreciate that the free market will allow a commodity to be sold at a price that you're not familiar with?
Right. Or that you don't want to pay. But there is somebody who will and is willing to pay that
Yes.
price for the service that they receive. And that service is more than just the firewood. That's what it all boils down to.
And that was one of the first lessons I learned when I got into business was you are not the customer, or I am not the customer. And I market and sell firewood to a customer base that I am not I don't live in. I am inherently frugal. I am cheap. I look for the cheapest stuff out there, and my customers are on the other end of that. Price is not their concern. And I heard Leroy say that too about his customers, that price is not their concern. They have 5 other things that supersede the price.
Right. It's not, there's plenty of people out there who, well, number one, the big thing I always hear is like, who would order firewood in the mail when you could just go out and take a branch off a tree in your yard? They don't
Yeah.
realize that not everyone has a yard. Not everyone has property. Some people just live in a city where there is nothing to burn.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Or
crazy.
or that these customers are willing to spend extra for wood that's ready to burn.
Yes,
And
hand
that is
selected.
and that's a recurring theme that you hear, in the YouTube firewood community, you hear it on Facebook, that people are just offended that a customer is willing to spend money for firewood that's ready to burn. And you hear people, oh, it's not my job to dry their firewood. But well, why did you draw the line at, I made the firewood for you to buy? Why are you not just as offended for a person who wants to buy firewood to begin with?
Yeah.
Why are you drawing the line at drying it? Well, why make firewood for anyone at all if you're going to act like that, if you're going to say things like that?
Yeah. It's sometimes I wonder when, if, I mean, obviously there's nothing wrong with having a business model of splitting and selling right then and there. If it works for you, it works for you. But in the same sense, like firewood in most people's mind is something that you can use. It's ready to burn when you get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Dan, why is it that no one complains about a person or a business that sells firewood through split and sell? Why doesn't anyone ever complain about them? Why doesn't anyone ever question their ability to make a living? Why isn't anyone doing videos that this person, clearly is a fraud and cannot sustain a living by selling firewood through split and sell? No one ever says that. They only say it about people like Cutting Edge. They say about people like me, that sells value-added firewood. I try to sell less firewood for a higher margin. Why is it that the heartburn seems to start when people want to break out of this? I don't know what the right word is, a paradigm, a traditional way of selling firewood, that once a person breaks out of that, then the grief starts. Because I get comments like that all the time. Anyone who sells bundled firewood gets comments like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would, such a ripoff that a person wants to buy, that will buy one bundle of firewood when they can buy a whole cord, for X. And not recognizing that the customer clearly does not want a cord.
Right. And it's always,
Yeah.
And back to that whole, even like that word traditional, like for me, I have never really thought of firewood as being something that is sold when not ready to burn. Like, I don't know. It's just, I guess different areas, different people do different things, but yeah, it's never really the other way around. Like you've never seen, like you would never see someone like Leroy or, other people who like you go
like me.
Yeah, to go to people who split and sell and rip them apart,
Yeah. Come on.
It's
Leroy is laughing all the way to the bank. Serious.
Yeah.
With what he's done. And increasing his price per cord. He's doing all of the things that we've talked about. Smaller quantities, higher quality. Didn't he say in the episode that they hand pack each box, and they are yanking out pieces that aren't straight or have a knot in them, that aren't beautiful?
Yep. And they're inspected. They hand pick the pieces, put them in the box, so like for their mail order stuff, and then those boxes get inspected one or two more additional times, just to make sure everything looks.
Now, this is where I got a little bit upset with you, because I was telling a joke and you did not laugh at it, because I was hoping that someone out there didn't think I was being serious when I was talking to Leroy about, how are you making all this money by not touching this wood? Because we all know if you touch firewood, you lose money.
Every
and you
touch.
didn't laugh. Yeah, you didn't laugh when I said that. I was hoping people knew I was joking, and I believe the exact opposite. And that's what Leroy, got into, the fact that they break every rule that, and he's using air quotes, every rule about how to sell firewood. He's broken every one of these rules, and that's how they're making money.
Yeah, I think I might have been on mute. Maybe that's maybe why you didn't hear me laugh. But I was chuckling either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That felt weird for me to even say that, because it is just factually wrong. And, Exhibit A is Cutting Edge Firewood. Holy cow. They don't even have a an automatic bagging system. They don't have a wrapper. They don't have a V-pack or something to box their firewood. They use humans
Yes.
to do it.
Yeah.
And he says, the number he was counting, this was, right before we went live, he was counting how many times they touch firewood, and it's a lot. And they have that branded piece, which gets
Oh,
conspicuously placed in each box.
I kind of got an idea off that. I don't know. I might have to. I may or may not be looking into something similar just to kind of not necessarily copy, but put a little unique spin on something on my own. Because yes,
So
that is
that's funny.
unique.
I have on my desk a little steel disc with OWB laser cut into it. And when I
Ooh.
had first started doing this, that was what I was going to do. I was going to get like my little Burns-O-Matic and blowtorch an OWB into the side of a stick.
Yes.
I just never got started doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good idea, but then all of a sudden you might end up in that position of, oh my gosh, what have I got?
Yeah,
into?
it'd be a good deal if someone would do it for me.
Right.
When
Yes.
you got all this other stuff you have to do. Some things get prioritized. Yeah, but Dan, how about Cutting Edge Firewood? What the heck, man?
Yeah.
He's
Crazy.
been on national television. He's got like Terry Bradshaw in his corner.
Yep. And I think his, like he had mentioned how when he started out, I mean, he was really, he was, what did he say? He worked like 40 hours in 2 days or something. He was just, packing boxes, filling racks, making deliveries, and that's the one thing I think, and he kind of mentioned this a little bit about people will look at him and think that he's an overnight success, but it was years and years of working and, hitting the grindstone, just working crazy
But see,
hours.
that gets down to goals,
Yep.
Because serious, I like what I'm doing. It's a sustainable business. I keep the house and keep food on the table, gas in the gas tank. But if it would require me to work a 40-hour shift to get to that level, it ain't for me. I'm not going to do that. The time that he said, because he was telling, he got sick, from just working himself into the ground. He leveraged his house. He laid it all out there on this idea, and it paid off for him.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, he went out, found
that's
investors.
What it takes. Yeah,
Jeez.
Investors.
Yeah,
and he applied his education and his courage and his own labor power to do that. So what did he say? They went ahead and just went to town on that bid for the Kroger's, like over 1,000 stores. That is the stuff that I can appreciate, because that's kind of like what I did. I just jumped in and then just started figuring it out. And that's what I figured that's what he had done. They got way in over their head. He had to go find a whole bunch of people, hire people, set up a process to get these things kiln dried and bundled up and shipped out on semis. It sounded like he had a tiger by the tail, and that's why he was working all those hours.
Yep. Yeah, I've kind of felt a similar, not on that scale, but when I started shipping out mini firewood, I had labels printed, and I made like, I think 50, because I'm like, this will last me a while. And all of a sudden I'm having to reorder again, and now I'm out of boxes, so I got to keep track of boxes. And then you get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm just going to order 200 this time, because I've been ordering 50 every other week.
Yeah.
So it's like all these little things that you don't really think about, and then you have to, they take time and they take energy, and you got to have the goals. You got to be willing to put in those hours.
Think about, he had 1,000 Kroger's, which are major size, superstores, grocery stores.
Yeah.
Gosh, imagine finding the wood, getting it made, processing, getting it kiln dry, getting it bundled up, getting it palletized and shipped out on trucks. And oh my gosh,
deadlines.
Titanic.
The deadline.
Oh my gosh.
Deadlines to meet. Oh, geez.
That is a massive job. Titanic. I couldn't imagine. That is a job for a young guy to
Yes.
do something like that. And that's what, when he was saying all these hours that he worked, I was like, well, I'm out. Count me out. I
Yep.
don't, yeah, I'll just stay here in the Mahoning Valley and I'll mind my own business. Wow.
But like you said, it all paid off. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look back, he built something and turned it into exactly what he wanted.
Yeah. And what he would say, and I agree, he's redefined the firewood industry. And that is an example for all of us. And again, I just get tired of even throwing this disclaimer out there. Do what you want to do. And I think it's awesome. But don't think that that is the only way to do it. And, he had talked too about not listening to all the people telling him that he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And look where it led him. Don't let people tell you that it's got to be this way or it's got to be that way, or you don't know what you're doing, or you're a ripoff, or you don't know. Turn your ears off and follow that idea. Let the market figure it out. And here
Right.
the market has spoken.
Yeah.
The market has spoken. That business it's major league. And when you read his comments, though, you get the other impression.
Right. And there's always then there's the other side of it where the people will say, I've been doing firewood for 15 years and this is the way you should do it.
Yeah.
And I like to always think of, like, if I would continue doing I can't even build a website like I did 15 years ago today. Like, things change. And if you don't have an open mind and look and see those changes, then you end up leaving negative comments on social media.
Well, that was the gentleman I spoke with when we were on vacation. I stopped at his wood yard, and that's what I told we did that episode on, like, people that we've met in firewood that we didn't like, because I was saying that, like, I've never met anyone that I didn't like, and I was thinking, oh wait, yes I did, and it was this guy, and that was him. Yeah, he was a jerk, number one,
Yeah.
and he was a jerk because it was his way, and that was it. Anyone that does it differently, he was telling me that you cannot deliver firewood. It's got to be local pick. It's just, everything was just old fashioned and ancient. And that's why I just kept my mouth shut, because I was like, this guy here will beat me over the head once I tell him what I'm doing. And then good night, keep him away from Leroy, because he would go blind
Yeah.
trying to figure out what to do with him.
Jeez.
Yeah. But Dan, that is firewood as a commodity, and allowing himself to accept that it is a commodity and that it will respond to business and capitalistic enterprise to increase its value, to increase its abilities to be sold at a higher margin. That is what I've been preaching. And I think I'm showing that it is mildly successful for a sole proprietor like me. But that's what we got off that episode. I think the first thing I told you was that if I was better looking and harder working, that would be me.
I just needed the harder working part. I was good enough looking.
Yeah. Wow. That is
it was something
amazing. And that was made from nothing.
Yeah.
It's not like he bought another company and just took over someone else's idea. That was made from nothing. That started off with an axe, he said.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But he's also, so he sold the business. So that's where, again, where I look at, when I self-assess, I know what I'm doing. And I know my strengths and weaknesses. I do. And, people say, that, well, you got to have you got to do professional accounting for your business. I say, no, you don't. But the shortcomings of my approach would be, you're not going to get to that level without doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to get a lender. You're not going to get an investor like he did.
Right. But would you want, that's the whole thing, is would you want, would Ohio Woodburner want investors to be looming over you and pushing you? Like
Right.
it sounds
Yeah.
great. It sounds awesome to say, oh
Sure.
my gosh, I got an investor in my company, in my business. He's going to invest money. He's going to help me do this. But then you got to deliver.
Yeah. Well, I had that discussion with a gentleman. He is a franchise or whichever the one is, a franchisee, a franchisor. He was trying to talk me into franchising my business model because he said this is certainly capable of, of operating like that. But I just, I'm not gonna do it. The answer is no. Like all of the stuff that Leroy does or did, if you were to ask me, the answer is no. Am I going to hire an accountant? No. Am I going to look for investors? No. Am I going to try to secure a grocery store contract with 1,000 stores? No.
No.
Am I going to have a massive marketing budget? No, I'm not going to do all that. But that doesn't mean that I can't be successful at what I'm doing because, I mean, I'm not driving my Maserati yet, but so far so good.
Right. But what would be the price if you were to do all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the question in life. You can have anything in life you want if you are willing to pay for it.
Right. Or if if you were to do all of those things, what is that then worth to you?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It wouldn't
Someday,
be worth it to me. That's what I'm saying. The answer is no. Yeah, the answer is no. And I'm good with it too. Where if someone would want to criticize me for that, I was like, yep, that's a good criticism.
yep.
You're
Yeah.
correct. But guess what? I literally don't care because this is how I'm choosing to live my life and I am good with it.
Sometimes those things are worth more. You got to know your strengths
Yeah.
and know your weaknesses.
I think so. There was one of my favorite baseball managers, Charlie Manuel. He was a hitting coach for the Indians, and that was his motto: was "Know thyself."
Yep.
If you're a hitter, know that you struggle on the outside pitch, or don't get yourself into a situation where you're vulnerable to that. And the same thing with business, same thing with life, same thing with relationships, with everything. If you know thyself, you can make things a heck of a lot easier on yourself.
Yep.
Just imagine if you were not well adjusted or you're vulnerable to seeing how other people live, or you've got this thing about keeping up with the Joneses, and you see a business like Cutting Edge and you start chasing that idea, and you just run yourself into the ground, or you strain your relationships, all of the
Yep.
things, that you would give up to get whatever it is that you're trying to get.
And yeah, and he had said too, like the area that he was in down there by Atlanta, there was a lot of very wealthy neighborhoods.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's the key component with that type of business model is you need the market to take that to and make it happen. Like, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, good luck.
And that's what he wanted too. That is what he wanted, and he went for it and he got it. And look at him. He's happy. He's celebrating. He's also looking to, change or shift gears and look for different opportunities now. But that market that he may live in, where there's a lot of wealth in that city, he's a national brand. So for someone like you, Dan, who's building that brand, that could be something for you awaiting. But is that how you want to, because if you're mailing out 1,000 boxes a month,
oh my goodness,
would you be able to keep your full-time employment? Would you be able to continue to be a YouTube social media influencer?
Yeah, no.
Uh-huh.
No.
The answer is no.
The answer is no. Not right now. But give me a few months. Let me get some things in line here.
Well, you never know. I really do. I've said this before. I'm not just saying this because you're here and I like you. I think you're onto something. I think that is, and it's just branding. It's marketing, because it's kindling. Let's be honest, but it's repurposed for small firewood, and it's just it works, and it's a growing trend, especially the way that people are living. No one can, especially the younger generations. No one can afford a house anymore. So they're moving into smaller places or maybe apartments, but they still want to have the quality of life from having your own yard where you can have a bonfire or something. And these small fire pits, they're here to stay. It's not a fad.
Right. And that's the thing is with the emergence of those small tabletop fire pits, that's what's kind of opened this door to just, it's really, sky's the limit.
Yeah. And then you have the firewood guys and gals out there that just cannot accept the fact that someone is willing to spend money to make it worth their efforts to make this stuff, market it and ship it out. But someone like you is, and you're the one that's benefiting from it. And then that's why you start getting all these complaints that you're a ripoff and you can't believe that, firewood's a commodity, man. Add value to it and watch what happens.
That was one of the way back in the early days of the mini firewood. I did a video about it, and I would say 70% of the comments were how ridiculous of an idea it was and it wasn't worth doing. And that's what made me say, well, if you guys aren't going to do it, then I am.
Yeah. And now you got a bunch of people out there doing it. They're following you're following your trail.
Oh, that's been the fun thing to see is that there's the state next door to me. There was a gentleman that kind of mocked me pretty good for a while. And lo and behold, I saw on his Facebook business page, now he's doing the same thing.
That's hilarious.
Offering the same thing.
Yeah. If you can't beat them, join them, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, I thought that I enjoy our interviews that we do with outsiders.
Yes.
And we have had a very nice cross section of people, but this guy was different. It's not like it's a machine. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is firewood. This is that raw commodity. And this is a person that had the courage, the foresight to create a new market and to build it and to profit from it. I think it's awesome.
I think it is too. And open the door for others, I mean, that's the other thing is paving the way forward with firewood.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, how about let's pave our way out of this big snowstorm. I got to get my world's greatest snow shovel and get to work.
Oh, we just got cold up here.
Oh my gosh. It's freezing and we got snow, and more cold.
So yeah, let's get out there and enjoy this brisk January temperatures.
We'll hire someone to do it for us.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, I want to thank everyone for tuning into the Woodhounds and helping us become the world's largest firewood podcast.
Yes. And we would love to hear from you. If you're not busy listening to us on your favorite podcasting platform, you can send us an email to thewoodhounds@gmail.com.
Yeah. All right. So, Dan, let's tell everyone out there to go to the Cutting
Edge
and take a peek
over.
And while you're falling, have
a great day.